around, y'all. I'm changing some things around, just switching a few things up, just trying some things, and we're gonna figure this out together, okay? We're gonna figure this out together. So, so if you can hear me, that's the most important thing. And I got a new mic. What's up, Shreem? How's the audio? Audio check, audio check, mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2. Too loud, too low. Lower it down. How you doing today? How you doing? How you doing? We got a we got a special guest coming through. We got a special guest. A special guest. Audio sounds great. Cool. I'm good. All right. We got a special guest coming through. We are streaming live on YouTube and it's going down, y'all. It's going down. It is going down. This guest that's coming through is built different. No, for reals. He is built different. If you got to go follow him, MP23. MP23. Go follow him. Go check him out. Go see what he's talking about. He goes live every day. This is probably one of the biggest guests to come through here, y'all. This is probably one of the biggest guests to come through here. So I want you to respect his time. He don't go live every day, but he goes live all the time. He's live all the time on his accounts, both YouTube and and on TikTok. So he is a TikTok friendly. I'm uber excited. Number one, I got the audio changed up. So unfortunately I got to hold a mic, but I'll figure that out later. I want to be hands free, but we'll work on that. We'll work on that. Good looking out, Shreem. Good looking out. Always seeking constructive criticism. I do want to grow. I do want to get better, and the only way to do that is to literally get feedback from folks. So I'm always seeking those feedback. Let me just make sure the guest is on the way. I talked to him last night. He said green light go. So I'm imagining he will just pop into my live when it's go time, and I'll keep my eyes on any messages that he may send. In the meantime, in the meantime, uh, what's going on in the space? Everybody got their certs figured out. Everybody know their certification path. Everybody know their dream role. Does everyone know what roles are out there for them? Feel free to share this out if you know someone that is uh, having troubles with cybersecurity, having troubles breaking in, wanting to learn more, plain old cyber curious, should be looking into the field. Ooh, that's a good one. If you know someone who should be looking into this space, forward this over to them. Get them on over here. They don't have to jump up on the panels like I always ask. They can hang out in the chat. They can watch folks chat. What's up, Noah? What's up? I can't even say it. Kia Pim Baria. Ah, Scorpio. What's up, Scorpio? What's up, Eunice? What's up, Teamy? Welcome in, y'all. Welcome in. What's your options about Portswigger Academy? And are you red or blue? I'm neither. I'm InfoSec. But on Portswigger Academy, I have not seen, but I've heard nothing but fantastic things. So good call out. I want you to re-ask that question when the special guest gets in, because the special guest has been in the space for multiple years and has held multiple roles and has a complete, well-rounded, super well-rounded perspective and answers. He's gonna give you. He's If you check out his lives, he goes live and delivers these rapid fire answers, and they're sound, very sound answers. And what I mean by that is that sometimes they're blunt and they're direct, and sometimes that works for people, sometimes that doesn't. And fortunately and unfortunately, that is the situation. Some folks need it direct, and some folks need it, kind of the soft tap. But I think that MP23 is delivering solid content on his YouTube and his TikTok every single day. He may not have something new every day, but he is extremely active. I mean, extremely. So he doesn't go live every day. So I want you to respect his time, because what he's doing to come over here and come chat with us is something that he probably doesn't do often. He probably doesn't do this often. I don't see him in any of these other rooms. And what's up, Techno? What's up, Joseph? Welcome in, y'all. We're talking about cybersecurity again. We're talking. This is Cyber Talks. We're live on YouTube, and we're doing this on TikTok. And special guest will be in the building. I'm just warming up the room a little bit, and he will be in, and I will pull him up, or he may pull a plan B, and we may have to do co-host situation. He may go live on his account, so I am watching for anything happening on his account to see if he goes live. He does, then I will join us together. But if he just hops in, we'll bring him up and we'll start chatting. So we got the who. Let's take a quick poll with the people who are in the room. Who is the special guest? Um, let's take a quick poll. Look at the flyer below. Look at the flyer below. If you know MP23, if you heard about him, seen different things that he's doing in the space, please drop a one in the chat. Drop a one in the chat if this is you've seen MP23 before on TikTok, and I see he just walked into the building. Put a two in the chat if you have not heard of MP23 before. Put a two in the chat. I need to get some engagement. He's in the building. I'm gonna get him up here, y'all. But I want y'all to take advantage of the time here and his availability. And then please come up and ask questions. I need folks to come up. That is my style. But I will switch the scene up and get MP23 up, get some introductions going. I'm uber excited, y'all, as you can tell and maybe hear it in my voice. But one moment here, one moment. All right. All right, I'm requesting you up, MP23. Maurice, welcome in, welcome in.
Hello, hello. Thank you for
Hey,
having
how
me.
you doing? How you doing? Thanks for
I'm
coming
good, man.
through.
I'm good.
I know that you probably don't do this often, right? With the whole jump on other people's lives. That's not normal, right?
No, I've only done it maybe once or twice.
Okay. So I feel like this is a very special moment. Number one, for you to just come in here and chat with us on a conversational level, but also I would like to invite folks up to come up and ask questions and maybe interface with you. I've watched your live multiple times, and the way that you've handled these questions that come through, you slam them, right. You slam the questions, they come through, and sometimes there's a lot of repetitive questions, it gets a little annoying, but anytime that someone hits you with a question, it's very you know decisive. It's this way, it's black, things seem like really black and white for you. Is that do you resonate with that, or is that, am I off in any way?
No, no. I think you're absolutely right. I think the biggest problem what I see is there's a lot of misinformation out there. People, see a lot of stuff. Whether it's boot camps, whether it's degrees, whether it's even certificate bodies. People have been promised a lie. Essentially, you get one cert, you get a six-figure salary, and loads of people are walking into a harsh reality that that's not the case. You know, Especially now, I think probably cybersecurity has never been more competitive than ever before. And the goal is obviously I've shared a lot of like short videos. I've done a lot of YouTube, and I'll get a lot of DMs and I get a lot of comments, and it's impossible for me to answer all of them. And especially most of the questions are teach me, coach me, mentor me. You know, that's not the approach I take. So, but I'll do a couple of lives a week to remove misinformation and just give a bit of a practical advice, from someone who's been there, for 10 years. And I went through a self-learning route in cyber 10 years ago. And I recommend people to do the same. I haven't had it. I have got a degree when I was 7 years in the industry. And till this day, I still think this degree is pretty much worthless to me because it didn't do much for me.
I got you. Now you're hitting on some major points. I like that the noise that's out there perspective, and that's true. And my whole focus of creating my lives is to slow the conversation down because it's moving at life speed. It's moving very fast, and even then, even what I'm trying to do, it doesn't slow it down enough. So I'm glad that you're here. We had a couple folks that don't. I know your following will be here too. So a couple for the folks that are on my side that have not heard about you yet, but will be tapping in. Can you give us just a high level, super high level, where you came from, what you've been doing, and what you have going on these days?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll probably start at the beginning. So 10 years ago, I was working. I'm from UK. I'm based in London, but yeah, 10 years ago, I was working in physical security. And I guess the kind of the realization hit me that in order to get into physical security leadership, you needed to come from an army background in UK. It was kind of very gate kept, which kind of similar thing happens in cybersecurity, but you wouldn't get into leadership unless you have army buddies and everything was based on a connection. So I thought, what was the next logical route to go where I can leverage some of the security knowledge I have and move into technical realm? And kind of cybersecurity was a really easy solution for me. So I found a couple of mentors and kind of went through a pathway, again, similar to why I talk to people, start in the beginning, watch A plus, watch Network plus, get Security plus cert. And then I think I've got one Azure cert back then. But then the biggest differentiator what I've done early in my career was I was very intentional about building personal brand. So I started, posting on LinkedIn from pretty much day one. I started interacting and meeting people in person. And actually, the way I got my first job, I pretty much learned MITRE ATT&CK inside out in the beginning of the days. So I went on a webinar where I presented basically what MITRE ATT&CK is, how to use MITRE ATT&CK, how to use MITRE Navigator, and essentially my hiring manager saw the live, and then I got a job offer. So I started working in SOCs 10 years ago. And then I went through all of the roles in SOC until I got to sort of SOC management. I then went to even architect and build SOCs and design SOCs for other organizations. And then I moved into cloud security engineering, cloud security architecture. Then from then I moved into AppSec, building AppSec frameworks, DevSecOps sort of frameworks for organizations, how to secure applications. I built pen testing strategies, and then I landed myself in a fintech organization about just over almost 4 years ago. I was a senior security engineer, essentially came first security hire, did engineering as much as I needed to, and then essentially 6 months later on, I was given the sort of the reins to become a CISO, build the whole cyber program, hire and build this cyber team, and that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years or so. I also run my own cybersecurity consultancy business based on sort of virtual CISO and cybersecurity consultancy, as well as AI security. I run a Cyber Diaries podcast on YouTube. I'm currently building a cyber leadership course that's predominantly geared towards communication, influence skills, learning how to translate risk to non-technical people and to the boards, because that's one thing. People ask me, how do I become a CISO? There is no a course, there is no a prescribed path to becoming a CISO, but hopefully that's going to be helpful for people. And essentially, another side thing is obviously TikTok, YouTube is where I kind of, as I say, try to remove misinformation about what it means getting into this industry and essentially helping people on their journey.
Blown away. Smoking hot. Background. Love the story. Love the story. It's amazing. And I have so many different points that I want to touch on. But this is not only about me. With my live, I invite folks up. But there will be a caveat today, everyone. Instead of just randomly inviting folks up and just asking that generic "How do I break into cyber?" question, that is a complete waste of time. I want you, if you come up, I want you to ask very specific, targeted questions. Come up and align with the different roles that you have a dream to aspire towards, or even are currently in and trying to figure out how to level up, or which route makes the best to level up. Have some context, but not too much context, because we don't have much time. We have less than an hour,
Yeah.
and we got to go. We have to go. So you got MP23 in the building right now. Feel free to request up. I'll start with the questions, but I'll let folks start requesting up and letting them in to hang out with us. MP23. Can I call you Maurice? What's the best?
Marius, yeah, yeah.
Marius, Marius,
Marius is fine.
Marius. All right, Marius. You mentioned multiple things: DevSecOps, amazing pen testing strategies, consulting business. Just yesterday, someone asked in my live for the people who want to get into the entrepreneurship side of the house. What are some maybe not do's or don'ts, but what are some of the bigger challenges that you had to like really power through on the consulting side, the entrepreneurship side of the
Yeah.
house?
I think first and foremost, the hardest part is whenever you are a CISO or any leadership position, you kind of wherever you worked your life is you are most predominantly are resistant towards sales because you've been calling and been caught out by various kind of vendors trying to show their solutions. So you always are sort of in a way anti-sales. Now, all of a sudden, when you become entrepreneur, you whether you like it or not, you have to become a salesman yourself to get and acquire clients, and that's a really hard transition to put yourself into. But I think the one thing what you want and what you need to do is actually I can show you the amazing things what you can learn from this. It's so important to starting out, and I think the first lesson in from there was you know you have whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's your phone, you have connections, you have someone's number. If someone's giving you the number, that means they gave you a permission to contact them. So you start there, offering whether it's free assessment, offering free advice, reaching out to the network saying, look, that's where I started. That's what I'm trying to do. Give me some, referrals, give me some recommendations, some feedback on what I'm doing. And, that's how you spread the word. You go through your network and then you work towards marketing and making this known to the wider community and the world. But that's how you start.
I love that. I love that. And then another thing I want to touch on, I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit here on the leadership course. Is that where the industry is going when it comes to where we're needing to drive some focus is on cybersecurity leadership? And what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think the biggest gap is whether we like it or not. Most of the people who come through the ranks into cybersecurity leadership, they are fairly technical people. Now, all of a sudden, when you are facing the board, your technical acumen does not count anymore. Now it's the point of understanding the business. It's the point about how you can translate the technical, things. I've seen this many times. CISOs come, first board meeting, they come with the slide and they show, that's how many CVs we have, that's how many misconfigurations we have, that's how many risks we have. You get lost. You know, it's about and even talking anywhere. And even I went to some vendor sales kickoffs, and I've talked about a storytelling, connecting the dots, and actually weaving that how the cyber program is actually helps business achieve its goals. We're not in cyber. I think the one another thing which you need to learn when you go through your career is we're not trying to achieve absolute security. At the end of the day, business needs to make money. Now, if we ramp up security too high, that means it's going to prevent business to make money. So it's about the balance between security and availability and business to achieve its goals. So we have to do enough, and we have to secure business enough that it is allowed to make sound risk decisions.
I like that. I like that. I do. I really do. And that speaking of the technical acumen piece, since I've been bringing folks here talking about you're going to help us out with the skills. Can you kind of highlight some of the major skill? Or let's start at the rudimentary level. What are the basic level skills that folks need when they're talking about breaking into both IT and then maybe cyber, or maybe trying to go straight into cyber?
It's not necessarily skills. I think one thing people that are really missing. I don't know whether I don't want to be sort of talking about generation or stuff like that, but the one thing that often comes, there is a kind of expectation that people think, oh, give me the full roadmap, zero, from zero to everything. And that's why, for example, another thing which I always say to people, I don't reply to 99% of the messages, because 99% of the messages are, give me a full roadmap, give me a full course, what next course I should do. I always say, and I'm a big proponent, for example, I hired one of my team members. Who I hired was, he was a 16 years electrician and then went to the boot camp, and he was one of the best hires I did. But I always say I hire people based on two A's: attitude and aptitude. Your attitude towards learning and your aptitude and your ability to learn. I always say passion and curiosity are the biggest differentiators in this industry. You have to go above and beyond. You have to be able to search and look for answers. There's so many information out there that you can find out the basics, but asking the really good questions, show me that you've done something. Don't expect me to give you the full roadmap. Show me that you've done the research. Show me that you've done the work, and ask really good questions. For example, even it's often questions about what certificate should I do next. Certificate's not going to land you the job. Stop chasing. You can have 20, as I keep saying to people, you can have 20 certificates and you'll not find the job if you don't have the necessary skills.
Yeah, you get lost in a lot of sauce out there, and there's a lot of noise, um, and if you're really looking for the paths have been built by either the certification bodies, the different vendor specific companies that offer the certifications within their realm. And a lot of this is already built out, so all the hard work is already figured out. So long as you're doing your due diligence and looking for this information, you don't have to ask really anyone, and especially what I always guide people towards, understanding what role they want to go towards. Is that the only metric or anchor that we should be looking at, or are there other anchors to align with?
No, obviously there are common differentiators. I always say, for example, if you complete newbie, I'm not. I must repeat, you don't become a badge and certificate collector. I always say, for example, if you start completely from zero, watch all of the A plus videos, watch all the Network Plus. You don't need certificates, but you need to have the material and the knowledge from it. The only one differentiator is get the Sec Plus, and then it's about, yeah. Once you've done that, you need to do a bit of research to understand, because SOC analyst and GRC analyst is completely different routes and completely different competencies and knowledge that you need to acquire in order to get there. So spend some time, figure it out. There's plenty of videos, for example, a day in the life of being a GRC analyst, a day in the life of being a SOC analyst of someone on YouTube or whatever it is. But you need to get and understand what this role entails. For example, I often talk about, especially talking about career changes, like anyone who's changing the career, whatever you've done in the past, it can't be neglected. For example, I always often say teachers make amazing cybersecurity people because they've been explaining to 7-year-olds complex mathematical equations. That's an amazing skill to have. I mean, you already know how to explain difficult concepts to a 7-year-old, and sometimes you will have to explain a cyber risk to a board member like he's 7, because that's how they will understand this. You've done sales, you understand how to influence, how to talk to people, how to communicate to people. Another important skill, I often say, even in the beginning of the career, if you have a great idea, you're going to need to convince other people that this is the best idea, and that comes through communications. If you can't communicate your ideas well, your ideas might not reach the day of light.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to be able to articulate your thoughts, everyone. Articulate your thoughts. Get those great ideas out. Take your time. Now let me reset the room. There's a bunch of people in here. What's up, Secrets? What's up, Shreem? Welcome in, Cyber Unk. What's up, S? What's going on, Digital? Welcome in, Game. And we got MP23 in the building. Marius is here, y'all, answering questions. Everyone knows I ask for people to come up, and then not just the people who are emerging in the space to come up and ask questions. That's regular stuff. We want also the experts to come up and ask questions as well, and also not just ask questions. Share some of your insights. Share some, layer on to some of the stuff that Marius is saying. and back them up, or add another perspective or add another layer. That's what we're really looking for, the biggest impact from this time spent. And we don't have much left of it, like less than 40 minutes. So welcoming folks up, feel free to come up, ask questions, or I have my eyes and had not have not been on the chat. So if there's something in there that's worth tagging, feel free, Marius. Otherwise, I can keep punching with some of these bozo questions that I got over here. I'll keep punching. So
Yeah.
you mentioned the miter attack. That was something that got introduced to you early on. So I feel like you got put on to game extremely fast,
Extremely.
and something that you anchored to that, and then you gave a presentation like that. Can you speak to why you ended up choosing to wanting to speak about something that you just learned about?
You know, I was really, first of all, I was encouraged by my mentor, but I was really, and I became a really believer that those who step out of comfort zone, I get the real rewards and benefits from it. And I often talk about, presenting and sharing your knowledge is very important space in cybersecurity. And I often, talk to people who are even starting out. You have to remember, guys, it has kind of a twofold effect. A, you are sharing your knowledge and your expertise to potential hiring managers, but B, you are potentially helping someone who is one step behind you. I often do, for example, these lives, and sometimes, when I'm answering these questions, some people come and just listen. They don't even ask questions, but they say it's amazing sometimes to hear, because some people ask questions which I would have never asked myself, but it's eye opening how other people think and to hear the answers. So, it's always about having different perspective. Where you say cybersecurity, when you're going to go throughout your career, there's going to be points when you're going to need to present. So the more you do it, the better you become at it. So it's about jumping out of the comfort zone, being uncomfortable, and jumping in there and doing it.
I love that. I love that. We have Cyber Secrets. He's a friendly. He's been here multiple times. Been since the beginning, since I started this, and has been super supportive. Has been in the industry. Um, Cyber Secrets. Any thoughts? Any questions? Anything you want to layer in so far?
Yeah, just like if we can go back a bit, MP23, when you were talking about communication, right? Like I think not like yeah, we learn all this technical stuff and we want to show how smart we are and all this stuff like that. I was lucky enough though to like the company I worked at paid for a very expensive communication program and it was eye-opening. Can you talk a bit more about like I don't know, either communication frameworks or like not all of us are teachers like you were saying, right? Like
Yeah.
not all of us have been blessed with that kind of gift. What more do you have to say, or what kind of actionable, practical advice can you give about the communication for the group?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I kind of leaned into a bit, but I think sometimes, you know, the thing I think I don't remember who mentioned there was a great advice. Record yourself doing a board presentation and watch it back. You will find things like, even, if you watch my earlier TikTok videos, I used to repeat guys a lot, and somebody picked it up, and I don't mind. Great feedback is good. So I had to cut it out because I was very conscious about filler words about putting in guys listen to this, a guy do this, so I had to remove it. But the most important thing in terms of board presentation and technical things, it's about, as you say, translating, removing any jargon. Think about, I often say, the great sign of you understanding a subject is teaching someone else who has no clue about cyber. So, mom, sister, brother, who has nothing to do with technology, teach them, the difference between UDP and anything else. Teach other people because they will pick up and they will say whether you are explaining things well. And then it's about storytelling. It's about creating a narrative that how your cybersecurity initiatives help business achieve its goals. Because as I said previously, it's not about trying to achieve absolute security. You know, you normally have in front of the board no more than 5 to 10 minutes. So there's no point, waxing lyrically about some stuff. I often another thing just to add, I did a presentation recently for ISACA, uh, just about kind of the problems that CISOs are currently facing, and I often said that the biggest problem in cyber is that our success is stuff that's invisible. So you can prevent 100,000 attacks, but when you get one ransomware, you're gonna be pulled up by CEOs like, why we didn't prevent this? Why are we paying to the CISO? So the point is, when you're creating a powerful stories and narratives, you have to surface the invisible successes that your team and your program has achieved, and then talk about the gaps and where the business is going and where the biggest risks are, and what is your suggestion and how to mitigate those moving forward.
I love that. I love that. And
Awesome.
cyber seekers, if you have another one, feel free to let it rip. But first, let me say I've had a couple people request up. I have not approved it, mainly because the profile looks sketchy. So if your profile and you're not, your posts look weird and all this other stuff, I'm not letting you up. Please, I want to let you up to ask questions, but stay in the comments and field your question. We'll try to field your questions there. But I'm just trying to protect the health here. So go ahead, cyber secrets, if you had something else.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So what I'm hearing, it sounds like maybe for this week or next 30 days, find like three friends, family members, right, and explain technical concepts to them. Record yourself during doing that, or separately, right, if possible. And stories about achievements and how you fill gaps, right? Like that's kind of the framework
Yeah, yeah. And
for
even,
those
for
things.
example, another thing is, there is emerging, you know, cybersecurity community events that allow those who are starting out to step on stage, whether it's B sides, whether it's webinars, get out there, get on stage. You know, I've got on stage as well pretty early on my career, and I was absolutely bricking it. But I think as long as you're prepared enough, and as long as you kind of recited what you want to talk about, you'll be fine. But second time it'll be 10 times easier, and the more you do it, the better you're going to become at it.
I like that. I like that. And big stage energy is another one for folks. That I love that you mentioned B sides. That's your more local areas. Go seek your nearby B sides and go attend. Be able to say that you at least attended. Next level, go present. Go study up on something. Put together a great presentation, and get it done. So I want to talk about this hurry up and fail thing that you kind of. These are my words, but you said you bricked, but what's the importance of hurry upping and failing and at different things that you're striving towards?
I don't remember what. Again, there's another book I was talking about. I think it's about chaos engineering. I think I was reading. It was amazing stuff. But we have to, whether it's cybersecurity or anything in technology, we have to embrace mistakes and failures in a safe environment, because they are the ones who will teach us the most. So there is a kind of concept: fail fast and move on quick. So you know it's okay to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but mistakes are a ways for us to learn and become better, as long as we don't repeat them. We always say, you can make mistakes as long as you never repeat them in ever. So it's okay to learn, it's okay to figure it out. But as I say, build yourself. I will say one thing, and when I joined cybersecurity, I think it's one of the best industries to join ever. The the community support and the amount of people who are willing to help you is unprecedented, like any other industry. So start early, build yourself a sounding board, whether it's Discord servers, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube. Connect with people, go to events, meet people. The amount of people, there's always someone there who's one step ahead of you, who's willing to help you, as long as you are respectful the way you approach it. People are going to help you, and they're going to make you better for it.
Since we're here, let's tap into the mentorship piece real quick, and then Cybersock Junior, you're next. Get your question queued up for Marius here, and the mentorship piece. And I always say this, like, it has to be genuine and authentic. What are some good strategies when it comes to trying to, if for folks who don't have a mentor today, and know that they need one tomorrow or now? What are the best approaches would you say for that?
Again, it's just the same thing. I think sometimes, in a way, I feel like, and we could keep touching towards communication. I don't think it seems like people forgot how to communicate in this day and age. People just say, "Oh, be my mentor." You're never gonna get a yes from that. And I talk about, for example, in my roadmap YouTube videos. Be respectful. Don't go out of the gate saying, "Be my mentor." You know, for example, a good starting out LinkedIn message is say, "Look, I've seen you are in cybersecurity. I respect your post. I've read your post. Give them, show them that you actually studied and learned about them. People appreciate that their thoughts are you being listened to and appreciated. Say I'm starting in cybersecurity. I'm learning security plus. Let's say this is what I've done so far. I would love 15 minutes to chat with you and get some feedback or ask some questions from you. You know, and say, would you mind if I update you in a month what I achieved? You don't need to even ask. That becomes a mentor in itself. Build a network of people who are out there, appreciate their work. That's the kind of this. It's pretty simple, but I feel like people just say, "Oh, you become my mentor," or people. I had even messages now. They said, "I've decided that you're going to be my mentor," and I was like, "Yeah, you decided for me."
You're the one. You're Neo. You're the chosen one. Anyways, everyone,
Yeah.
that's great feedback. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone, we only have less than 30 minutes. You got to move faster. Your opportunity is now. We got a couple of people who I would like to now start to give them the opportunity to ask question, share some insights. We have Morbid, and we also have Cybersock Junior. Cybersock Junior, you're first. Go ahead, hit us with it. What you got?
So, first of all, thanks for having me and taking your time to answer my questions. I'm already in the process of building my GitHub portfolio and like getting LinkedIn connections for the recruiters and like just get myself out there. I
Yep.
already got Security Plus and building projects right now for a SOC, obviously.
Yep.
My main question is I'm outside of US and EMEA, so I'm in like in a third world country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and my main concern is if because I'm sure I'm gonna get the skills and the portfolio that I need to land a job. But my main concern is the thing that if I'm able to get a remote job because of the clearances and the cybersecurity stuff, for example, all of the companies want on-site because of information and other stuff. So how realistic is for me to land a job from here?
Well, everything is nowadays. There's nothing easy nowadays. Remote job is no guarantee, but again, you have to think about a couple of things. There's a lot of currently happening outsourcing. Organizations are being strapped for cash, and there's a lot of, you know, I know companies in UK who are building workforces in India, and we got for example, for a fintech, we run our call center from Manila. So we have IT support in Manila. There's potential talks about building a development team in Portugal. So there are companies who are doing that, but you on the right path. The only thing which I mention is and I'll keep talking about it. There are ways to short circuit the job search instead of just blindly sending applications. As you said, LinkedIn, talk to people in the countries where you want to work with them, showcase how are you developing the skills and what you've done so far to achieve, share your portfolio and write-ups. uh, and another thing which I always often mention, there's I talked about on my TikTok, the 48-hour rule. Whenever you apply for a job, follow up with a 48-hour email showcasing how you stand out from the crowd. You remember, some of these things are, if you got 200 applicants, but you get email from two, well, which CVs are you going to look at first? Secondly, as I said about networking and talking to people, making yourself those mentors and connections. Now, when I hire a person in my team, what do you guys think the first thing I do? Ask my team if they know of someone who can be referred. Well, that's a sure way of circuit. Am I gonna look through 400 CVs, or I'm gonna look at two referrals? If we're gonna find the right candidate in referrals, I'm not even touching those people who applied online.
I like that. I like that a lot. Everyone, let's get some engagement now. Put a one in the chat if you're following the 48-hour rule, meaning within 48 hours, you're making contact with the prospective employer. Put a one in the chat if you are following the 48-hour rule and making contact with that prospective employer. Put a two in the chat if you are missing that rule, or if you're falling short, or if you're going outside of that 48-hour rule, or you're just not following up at all. You're just sending those apps and praying. It's okay if you are, but this is something that we're learning about. So put a one in the chat if you're following that 48-hour rule. In the meantime, great question, CyberSock Junior. Let's keep brevity, everyone. Let's keep it tight. We're running out of time. Morbid curiosity, what you got, bro?
Yeah, to that point,
can I
right? At
add?
this point, networking is definitely going to get you there,
Yeah. Hold on.
exponentially faster than
All right,
any other.
real quick,
uh,
Morbid. Cyber, did you have something? Cyber secrets?
No, no. I was just going to ask if I could add on to the answer for CyberSec Junior,
For sure, for sure.
if we had time for that.
Yeah, go for it. And then Morbid, you're next.
Yeah, I'll make it super quick, right? I work for a fintech company, right, like in the financial space, and my entire team, right, it's like 5 or 6 guys, like they're all outsourced guys, right? And the trick is they're all from like a specific, um, like contracting agency or whatever, right? So if you could find contracting agencies in your country, that might be a way to help you get your foot in the door, right? Use Perplexity, Google, whatever AI chat, and ask that question. Hey, what, um, contracting companies in XYZ country could help me get a job in blah blah blah. Search Reddit, search the forums, and then give me a report. That's all I'll say about that.
That's fire. I like that. All right, Morbid. Sorry to cut you there. Feel free to lay it on us. What you got?
No, I was just going to echo, what MP said and what Cyber said too. Like networking is going to get you exponentially farther than just spamming resumes out to people, right? Your connections in the field are going to be way more beneficial than any letter you're going to send.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think just to add to that, not only, another thing which I often talk, we talk about, people miss points about ATS systems, people miss about writing applications, I say, 5 prescriptive applications beats 100 easy apply clicks. Tell them why you think you're going to be a great candidate. Insert some facts, whether it's your CV, whether it's a cover letter about the organization, about you, how, your skills specifically link to the job spec. I often see, yes, you can potentially do, because again, I've seen people advising saying you have to send out 1,000 applications. No, you don't. If you send the good ones, you can land a job much quicker. But it's about learning those simple steps. It's about, sending an application and then following up to a hiring manager, sending the application that specifically aligns to the ATS systems and the keywords that are asked in the job spec. If you're missing keywords, that's another thing. We often talk about, for example, we often talk about certificates, but one thing people are missing, people doing, ISC 2 CC certificate, they're doing Google cybersecurity certificate. They're great certificates just to learn bits, but you have to remember, like, pick a job role, say SOC analyst, go LinkedIn, search 10 SOC analyst job specs, find the common denominators. I bet you 9 out of 10 will ask for Security Plus. I bet 9 out of 10 will ask you for a SIM, such as Splunk or any of the other big names. There will be skills and certificates and knowledge that will be a common denominators. That's where you need to focus your efforts first.
Love it, love it, love it. We let up a couple of other friendlies up here. One CK, and we have Gladys. Gladys has been in the space, and she's been helping folks on the educational side and breaking into cybersecurity. So we'll start with you, Gladys. Any thoughts, questions, anything you want to layer in, or even pose directly to Marius here?
What's up, everybody? It's been a while, man. Staying busy, but yeah, nothing much. I've been listening from MP23. I'm not sure what MP means, but first time meeting you, and you have a lot of insights. I think he's talking the truth, Nothing much I want to add to that, but having the good skills, the skills that are needed in the industry rather than focusing on everything is not going to help. So just having the real skills that focus on the role you're looking for, and at the same time trying to reach out to hiring managers, I think is what he was trying to say. So yeah, I just agree with that.
Love it, love it. Thanks, thanks. Feel free to chime in anytime. You just come off mute, ask your questions, say some, layer in. One CK, what you got over there? What you got?
Man, that's good, bro. How you doing? How's everyone doing today?
Good, man. Good.
Good, good, good. For me, I think getting your resume right gives you that opportunity to like get a job, and having the right skills actually, help you do the job right. And as most times, it's like we need to just get the opportunity first. So I think that resume needs to like be a little bit appealing to like the recruiters, and the ATS system before you can even get a chance to prove, your words or show your skills. Back when I was in college, cyber was just like a course, like a subject. It was like a topic you just brush off. It was like, yeah, yeah, we have cyber class today, and you just talk about it for like 2 weeks, and that's it for the entire computer science program. And then time passes, and you start seeing like Department of Computer Science, and there's cyber security as a faculty on its own, and cybersecurity start having like its own bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, and then a few years after, we start seeing masters in cybersecurity, and now we actually have like PhD, in cyber. So like cyber has really gotten really like exploded basically. So that skill, you can't get all that skill. I feel like you just have to get the right skill for the particular job that you're trying to do, and then when you in that job, you can use that skill. You know, you can use that skill, and then you can learn more and learn on top of that, and then you can find your bearing where you want to go. If you want to go deeper into like pen testing, into like maybe audits, and maybe like cyber operations. But I feel like you need that little small skill first to get the job. You need the basic skill to get a job, basic understanding of how the network works to get a job, and then when you get a job, you can start building and self-learning and doing different labs and so on and all that. That's how you become like a professional in that field. But yeah, I think that's what I gotta say about like cyber itself.
That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing which just to add one little point, I think people forget that if you think you're learning a lot and it's really hard once you are in your sort of journey into cyber, wait until you walk in through the door. I often get now, because I think people, those who starting out, they don't really know where. But once people walk in through the door, that's the real learning starts. Because,
Yep.
yes, you might have learned a lot, but once you get into the cyber job, your learning is going to escalate another
Times
five, ten
20.
times. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more stuff to learn which you are not been even aware, and that's where the real difficulty hits in, because so many people face imposter syndrome. They feel like those around them, teammates, know so much more. How do they know everything? It's fine to know that you don't know anything. It's fine to not know something, but you have a team who can help you, support you, and answer questions. It's fine to be. Remember, you are enough. There is a reason why you got the job. Somebody believed in you. So you just work hard, do an extra learning outside of work, and you're going to get there. But, the journey is not much easier once you get in.
Oh, now cyber is really wide right now. Like it's a long journey. Before it used to be like learning for like a year and then just but now it's like it's really wide right now. And for me, I used to think I know cyber like, oh, when I did cyber bachelor's like masters, like I was like, damn, I know cyber. And when I got to the PhD level, I was like, damn, I don't know nothing about cyber. Like it's different on that level. Like I do have a PhD in cyber operations. And if I say it's different entirely, it's different from like a regular day cyber SOC analyst. No, this is like advanced level, different, stuff about cyber. Like you go deeper into like RF modulations, software exploitations and all that. Not just like your vulnerability assessment, pen
Yeah.
testing. Those are like baby, cyber. So it gets really deeper, but I think it's a step by step. You just pick a particular path, like a roadmap. You learn from SOC analyst. You go to this, go to like vendor risk. You just keep going like that, and you keep learning on top of it. How do you guys deal with
So
burnout?
I
Oh, I don't deal with burnout, Melisma. It's part of my life. Like, I just live with it and it's part of me. So I don't think I deal with it.
yeah, so I work with one of my clients, and he actually, so it's a fun story, but he actually had to end up leaving his first job in cybersecurity to go back into the job market because of this burnout thing. He was pretty much burned out. He explained to me that he got burned out in the first role because of lack of expectations, right? He didn't set any expectations. And I think that's something that I've tried to focus in my program. I'm like, hey, if you're coming into my program, you're not about to like get a quick fix here. It's not a quick fix program. We're going to set expectations. Once you get into your role, there's going to be a lot you're going to learn, which is why I still support my clients even after the job, because once you get into that job, like MP said, that's when the real deal begins. If you don't have support after that, it becomes really, really hard. So for this specific guy, his situation was that his team just wasn't supportive, right? He just didn't have the right team. So sometimes you'll meet people like that. If you're lucky, you have a good team which is happy to help you. But in his situation, it was very frustrating because nobody was open to helping. I mean, which I get, because he was probably asking the very basic questions. Because I always tell people, when you get your first role, I mean, people will support you. The seniors in the team will support you and show you the way. But if you're asking like really, really basic, weird questions, like people are gonna start seeing like, who is this person? Like you're asking about like what's a private IP, what's a public IP, kind of basic stuff where they know you should know. I think it can be frustrating as a senior person. We are in that role right now. We know what it means. So if you're asking some questions that don't match the role that you are in, it could be a deterrent and kind of make people feel some type of way about you.
I like that.
But in general, is that you just have to deal with that. Whatever tantrums you're going through in the role, you just have to deal with that and know how to behave within the team, what to say, what not to say, what to ask, and what not to, like that. Yeah.
That's good. And I want to pose a question to MP over here. Um, Gladys mentioned something really critical. Like she even said, like some folks, if they get lucky, they could have the right team. Is there anything that we can do to increase those odds, especially like during the interview process? Are there questions that we should be asking that would help us gauge the type of environment that we're walking into?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think one important thing aspect we can't neglect, and I think sometimes we forget, is interview is a two-way street. You're not only being interviewed for a job, but you are interviewing your future employer, and it's you know, you have to do your due diligence to understand what is the right security culture, how you're going to be supported in this organization. I often also ask in interviews, for example, what does success look like in this role in the next 3 to 6 months? How I'm going to be supported my personal development plan or the personal development efforts in the next 12 months. You know, you can even talk about, for example, walk me through your incident response process. Are they scrambling or they have everything embedded? It talks about culture. You can ask so much things to understand the culture and how cybersecurity is supported within this organization. Because you have to understand, landing any role is not your ultimate success. Landing the right role is the ultimate success that marries to your culture and your skills and the place where you're gonna learn. I often say there is this important understanding. Early in your career is way more important to learn than earn. earning comes later in your career, but first you want to go in a place where you can learn. I often, for example, talk as well. I think Big Four is not a great starting career point, because Big Four and any other massive organizations, you're going to be doing that much of cyber. You're going to be pigeonholed in, say, for example, doing one type of audit. That's it. Working in a smaller organization where there's a lot more role sharing and collaborative efforts and learning, it's a great starting point. You're going to get to, if you want to go to Big Four, you can get there much later on. But, go to a place where learning is supported and, I often, that's why, for example, I talk about certificates. You only need one or two certificates to land the role. If you want to get more certificates and learn more, do them once you get the job, because employers will pay for it. Don't waste your own money.
Love that. Love that. And let me say what's up to a couple of people. I see Tech Dens over there. He's a friendly in the UK doing amazing things. And what's up, Phil? Welcome in. Welcome in. Several people that I recognize. B for you, Echo. Welcome in, y'all. Great questions so far. We have about 10 minutes left, everyone. 10 minutes. Marius is here fielding questions, but we're also layering in information from folks that are been established in the space. So if you are emerging in the space and you want to come up, it will accelerate you to the front of the line. I'll let Tech Dens up. But if you want to drop some information in the chat, we'll try to field it, but I can't guarantee we can get to it. So take advantage, shoot your shot, and get your questions answered. I'll open up to the panel, starting with Tech Dens. Anything that you want to layer in, Tech Dens. I'm not sure when you came in, but feel free to knife in here.
Yeah, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you guys are. I don't know, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, I was just literally driving back from work, and I think I joined the live a bit late. And obviously, Marius, pleasure to meet you. I'm a big advocate of your content. Obviously, we spoke offline and whatnot, but just obviously with obviously what's been discussed, and obviously listening to what the panel had to say, and how people are trying to obviously break into the industry. I myself, obviously, I'm a senior. Well, I'm a contractor myself. I've done SOC roles and entry roles, and obviously every single point that you've covered from leadership perspective and from a hiring perspective. I've got peers within my network that have given me constructive criticism points that you've obviously touched upon. Where I was just chasing meaningless certification that was coming out of my pocket, but then obviously I was not getting my return on investment on what.
Cut out. Oh, we got low connection.
Well, somebody at leadership level, breaking down to where people think, oh, local, hello.
All right, Tech Dens, we're having I gotta mute you for now, bro. We're having some technical network connectivity issues over there. Feel free, if you get into a way better area, slide back in and get that question off or comments. It sounded like you were going in some great directions there. I want to pivot real quick, unless someone wants to jump in. Someone have a burning question that they just need to get off right now, or I can steer the show here. All right, it's me. All right, so on this networking side, we got a bunch of people just requested up, y'all. Let's get them opportunity. God's Watchman, I saw you from yesterday, and so the other two, let me review your profile. God's Watchman, what you got going on?
Rodney, I just joined the panel right now. I think it was a continuation of the discussion that was started yesterday. So I'm in a niche market. So I'm in the home automation and commercial building space, and there is I've seen a sudden increase or demand for people with the skill sets in cybersecurity. I also have, my background is actually instrumentation, so I also have exposure to industrial automation. And I also see that as a niche market as well. There's demand in that area. A common example that I always give people is the Stuxnet scenario that happened in Iran, where some PLCs, the guys there discovered that there is a virus that's been running for the very longest time, embedded in the, I think it's their nuclear program or something to do with, I think it's their nuclear program. I forget the facts now. But from that moment or from that scenario, it looks like vendors started looking into that direction to say, well, if people can actually impact a power grid, it makes sense to actually have experts who are specialists in this area. I think it falls under OT, or operational technology. So, however, I think to anyone who wants to break in the field, which is something that happened to me because it doesn't come naturally to guys, for example, who are artisans in this specific field, to just jump into cyber. I did realize I was privileged to do home automation, in that the very basics of home automation is actually networking, which I would like to think is the foundation of cybersecurity as well. So in my thinking, probably the foundation before pivoting into the actual separate disciplines in the actual area, I think networking should be a must in these specific areas. And another thing is, I realize also that hands-on experience, I think it's really good to invest in home labs. It's really good to actually have hands-on experience to actually interface and interact and break things and make things and stuff like that. It helps a lot because when you are standing in front of an interviewer, you are going to stand a better chance than a person who has acquired a group of certifications and pretty much has zero experience. In my opinion, that's what I've seen. Most guys who are getting such roles, they actually have something to show for the work that they have done, or they've experimented and done stuff. They come with portfolios of projects that they've worked on. So in a nutshell, I thought I could add that it's something to look at. I discussed with you prior that it's a niche market. I think very few people actually know about it, and I think it's an.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. God's Watchman, thanks for sharing. It looked like I was fighting the whole time to hear. There was a lot of background noise. I apologize that we weren't able to get the full thing out there, but we need to wrap it up, everyone. We got to get Marius out of here and be respectful of his time. I can probably take one question. If anyone has one last,
Can you do the last question?
you got
I
it.
do have a burning question.
You got
now.
it, bro. Get it off.
So MP23, on that around projects and stuff like that, what would you say? Do you have like a top 5, either most impressive or even just like, for folks who are trying to like showcase themselves, right? Like, what would you say are good projects to kind of use to put yourself out there and showcase your skills to, I don't know, cybersecurity leaders or whoever the hiring managers are out there?
Yeah. I think, I often talk a lot about, but I think, the blueprint is very much the same, or the starting point is the same. I think, once you build the one lab, you can do so much with it, but, it's always VirtualBox. You built an ISO from Cali, you built Wazoo, and you built one of the vulnerable machines. But it's then what you do with it. Vulnerable machines. Jump on a Vuln Hub, DVWA. There's plenty of vulnerable machines in there. Just pick one. And then what you do is you can run metasploitable attacks on the vulnerable machine. So you can drop a Wazoo agent on a vulnerable machine. You can intercept the traffic with a Wireshark. So you can see how attacks looks from network perspective. You can see how attack looks from endpoint perspective, and you can push all the logs into Wazoo SIEM or Elastic SIEM, and then you can obviously look at and visualize the attacks. And then it's about how you write up, how you learn things, because you've done an attack. If attack went through in the vulnerable machine, it's about how you build analytics and rules to detect that attack in a SIM. How can then you prevent those attacks from happening in the future on an endpoint? It's all about actually connecting the dots and building a story in your write-up, which is applicable in the real world. Walking through a try-hack me rooms, as I always say to people, is great, but it's very scripted and it doesn't allow you to think in and learning. That's just the beginning. You can start there, but that's where the real world is. Drop an open vars, do vulnerability assessment, and then but walk through actual scenario. Prioritize vulnerabilities, what you would fix, what can be neglected, what happens in the network if this vulnerability is on a receptionist laptop versus a production server. These are all realistic scenarios where actually looks impressive when people think to that level of granularity. That's the kind of thing. And then you can do various kinds of attacks. Get yourself a vulnerable machine that's exploitable to blue screen of death. All kinds of stuff. You just run those attacks and investigate and build. Write up is the one that is proper, separates you. And then when you get into interview, you actually talk about, I built a home lab, I've done this and this attack. That's how I detected the attack. That's how I would prevent this attack from happening in the future. That's what I've learned from those attacks. That's the real key difference. It's not about specific projects. It's about what you learn from them and how you learn how to think. Because I always say to people, it's not, for me, certificates not impresses. And interviews, I hate people when they talk about, what's the best 10 interview questions? And they talk, the difference between, UDP and or how this DNS works. Nobody asks those questions in interviews. I want to learn how you think. I want to ask you, how would you investigate an incident? How would you prioritize two similar vulnerabilities? How you would, think, and even if you don't know a correct answer, it's about show me your thinking. Another mistake where people make. If I ask you a thinking question, don't go silent and then answer me in a minute. Talk me through your thinking process. That's the most important thing that you can showcase during your interviews.
I love that. Love that. Thanks, Cyber Seekers. I'm gonna drop you, and then we're gonna get MP23 out of here. Marius, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us. And everyone. If you're not already following MP23, follow him on TikTok. He also goes live on YouTube, so you're gonna get some variations there and what material and content he's delivering. But it's all high quality. He's gonna shoot you straight, and he's not gonna give you any fluff like ChatGPT would say. No fluff. So we're gonna get you out of here, MP23. Thank you so much. Just want to say thank you, and also we I bring in a guest. I try to bring in high quality guests. Tonight I have one coming through, and almost every day. And my goal is to aim at high quality guests like MP23 over here. On your way out, Marius, can you give us like just some last words? Anything that's been bubbling up for you on your way out?
Yeah, it was pleasure for being here. It's always great to share some perspective and ideas. So thank you for having me. I think the most important thing what you guys can do is do not expect things to be handed on a plate. Cybersecurity is not easy. It's hard to get in. But if you're going to work your ass off, if you're going to be curious, if you're going to stay persistent, and you're going to use some of the tips that we share today, you can absolutely do it. But don't expect things to be handed on a plate. So work your ass off, be curious, and you're going to get there.
Thanks, bro. Thank you so much for coming through and sharing some time with us. It's not normal, everyone. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wishing everyone a great rest of your afternoon, evening, depending on what time it is and where you are. And we will see you all next time. Thanks, Marius.